What I'm about to share with you could fundamentally alter the trajectory of our entire season. A blockbuster scenario is developing behind closed doors. That involves one of our most electrifying young talents, a potential Hall of Fame big man, and a franchise-altering decision that the Warriors front office has been contemplating for years. This isn't your typical trade speculation. This is real. This has substance. And the implications are absolutely massive for our championship aspiration. Welcome to Warriors News Fan Report, where you get the most up-to-date news, exclusive rumors, and comprehensive analysis of our beloved Golden State Warriors. What I'm breaking down today goes far beyond surface-level reporting. I'm giving you the insider perspective on a situation that could define the next chapter of Warriors basketball. So you need to stay with me through every detail, because the information I'm revealing later will completely reshape how to view this team's direction moving forward. Let me set the stage for what's happening right now across the NBA landscape. The league is experiencing a seismic shift, with multiple franchises reassessing their timelines, their core pieces, and their championship windows. We're seeing teams make bold moves, take calculated risks, and position themselves for both immediate success and long-term sustainability. The Warriors have always been at the forefront of these conversations, never afraid to make the tough decisions that separate good organizations from championship dynasties. And right now, we're facing one of those pivotal moments that will be analyzed and debated for years to come. Our current situation requires honest assessment and strategic thinking. We're sitting above 500, which on paper looks respectable. But anyone who's been watching this team closely knows we've been inconsistent. The injuries have piled up, the fatigue is showing on our veteran core, and our front court depth has been exposed repeatedly. Throughout this season, Stephen Curry, at 37 years old, continues to defy father time with his otherworldly shooting and playmaking ability. But even the greatest players can't carry an entire franchise on their shoulders indefinitely. The burden on Steph has been immense, and it's becoming increasingly clear that we need to surround him with elite talent, capable of sharing that load and maximizing what remains of his prime years. This brings me to the heart of today's discussion, and I need you to understand the magnitude of what's being considered. The Dallas Mavericks are in the midst of organizational upheaval, following the firing of their general manager Nico Harrison. When a franchise makes that kind of leadership change, it signals a willingness to completely reimagine their roster construction and competitive timeline. Multiple sources are indicating that Dallas is prepared to hit the reset button in a major way, potentially putting some of their most valuable assets on the trade market to build around their sensational rookie Cooper Flag, who's been turning heads with his two-way dominance and basketball IQ that's rare for someone his age. Now, here's where the Warriors enter the picture in a significant way. Anthony Davis, the All-NBA big man who's been a dominant force when healthy, has reportedly joined the list of superstars potentially available for trade. Davis represents exactly the type of frontcourt upgrade that could transform our defense, provide reliable interior scoring, and give us the kind of rim protection and rebounding presence we've been lacking. The Warriors' interest in Davis isn't new. In fact, respected Bay Area insider Tim Kawakami has reported that Golden State has daydreamed about acquiring Davis for years. The combination of his versatility, his ability to switch defensively, and his scoring prowess makes him an ideal fit alongside Curry and our system. But here's the reality of NBA trades. You don't acquire a player of Davis's caliber without giving up significant assets in return. Dallas isn't going to simply hand over an All-NBA talent without receiving pieces that align with their rebuilding timeline and their vision for the future. Alongside Cooper Flag, this is where the conversation becomes complicated, emotional, and potentially controversial among our fan base. To make a deal of this magnitude happen, the Warriors would almost certainly need to include Jonathan Kuminga in any trade package. Let that sink in for a moment. Jonathan Kuminga, the 22-year-old athletic marvel who's shown flashes of brilliance, the player we've invested years of development into, the young talent who represents our future beyond the Curry era, could be heading to Dallas. I know that's difficult to process, especially for those of you who've been championing Kuminga's potential and believing in his trajectory towards stardom. But this is the harsh reality of championship-level decision-making. Sometimes you have to sacrifice future potential for present opportunity, especially when your championship window is narrowing with each passing season. The framework of this potential deal makes sense from multiple perspectives. which is why it's gaining serious traction in NBA circles. For the Warriors, acquiring Davis would immediately elevate our ceiling as championship contenders. Imagine a lineup featuring Curry's elite shooting and playmaking, Jimmy Butler's two-way excellence and clutch gene, and Davis anchoring the paint with his defensive presence and scoring versatility. That's a legitimate big three capable of competing with any team in the league. And it maximizes our remaining years with Steph while he's still performing at an elite level. The urgency is real. The clock is ticking, and this move would signal that the front office is all in on winning now, rather than hoping for future development. From Dallas's perspective, acquiring Kuminga fits perfectly with their youth movement around Cooper Flag. Kuminga brings exactly what they need: a strong, athletic wing player with scoring ability, defensive versatility, and the potential to develop into an all-star caliber player. At 22 years old, his timeline aligns beautifully with Flag's, giving the Mavericks a dynamic young duo to build around for the next decade. The pairing makes basketball sense, and it would give Dallas a foundation piece to accelerate their rebuild rather than enduring years of lottery mediocrity. Former NBA player Chandler Parsons recently discussed this exact scenario on Run It Back TV, endorsing the concept of the Warriors sending Kuminga to Dallas in exchange for Davis. His analysis highlighted how both franchises could benefit from this dramatic roster shift, with Golden State getting the win-now piece they desperately need, and Dallas acquiring the young talent that fits their rebuilding blueprint. When former players and analysts start publicly endorsing trade frameworks, it usually indicates that there's legitimate substance to the rumors, rather than just idle speculation. Now, I want to address the elephant in the room. Trading Kuminga is a risk. There's no sugarcoating that reality. We've seen glimpses of what he can become when everything clicks: the explosive athleticism, the defensive versatility, the improving offensive skill set. He's averaging 13.8 points per game this season while playing 27.7 minutes per night. And there are nights where he looks like a future star. The concern that's been reported is that the Warriors fear Kuminga could have a breakout season elsewhere, potentially making this trade look short-sighted in hindsight. That's a legitimate worry, and it's something the front office has to weigh carefully against the immediate benefits of acquiring Davis. But let's be honest about Kuminga's situation with the Warriors. He's been in a state of limbo, caught between being a developing prospect and being expected to contribute to a championship contender right now. The restricted free agency standstill this past summer revealed tension between what Kuminga values himself at and what the organization has been willing to commit. There's been reporting from ESPN's Anthony Slater suggesting that Kuminga feels like he's been made the scapegoat again, which indicates some level of frustration with his role and how he's been utilized. Sometimes a change of scenery benefits everyone involved, allowing a player to flourish in an environment where he's the focal point rather than a complementary piece. The history of the Golden State Warriors organization shows that we've never been afraid to make bold moves when championship opportunities present themselves. We traded for Kevin Durant. When that opportunity arose, we've consistently been willing to part with assets to upgrade our roster and maintain our competitive window. This isn't a franchise that settles for mediocrity or hopes that potential eventually translates into production. We're aggressive, we're calculated, and we're committed to winning championships, not just making the playoffs. That winning mentality is what's made us one of the most successful franchises of the past decade, and it's why fans trust our front office to make the tough decisions. Stephen Curry's situation adds urgency to every decision we make right now. At 37, he's still one of the league's most lethal scorers, still capable of taking over games with his shooting brilliance, still the engine that makes our entire offensive system function. But time is no longer on our side. We've already shown urgency by acquiring Jimmy Butler and surrounding our veteran core with complementary shooters who can space the floor and knock down open looks, created by Curry's gravity. A move for Anthony Davis would further signal our intent to take advantage of every remaining championship window we have with Steph, treating each season like it could be our last opportunity, rather than assuming we'll always be competitive. The Warriors have struggled with specific issues this season that Davis would directly address. Our interior defense has been vulnerable, allowing too many easy baskets in the paint and giving up second-chance opportunities due to rebounding deficiencies. Our frontcourt depth has been tested by injuries and inconsistent production, forcing us to rely on smaller lineups that get exploited by physical, dominant big men. Davis solves those problems immediately. He's a legitimate defensive anchor who can protect the rim, switch auto guards on the perimeter, and use his length to disrupt passing lanes. Offensively, he gives us another reliable scoring option who can operate in the mid-range, finish at the rim, and even stretch the floor with his improving three-point shooting. The fit between Davis and our system is seamless. He thrives in up-tempo environments where he can run the floor and finish in transition. He's comfortable playing off other creators rather than needing the ball in his hands constantly. He can set screens for Curry and roll to the basket or pop for mid-range jumpers, giving defenses impossible coverage decisions. Pairing him with Butler and Curry creates matchup nightmares for opposing teams, forcing them to pick their poison between Steph's shooting, Butler's isolation scoring, and Davis's interior dominance. That's the kind of offensive versatility that wins playoff series, especially when games slow down and execution becomes paramount. Dallas's perspective on this trade revolves around Cooper Flag and building the right infrastructure around him. Flag has been sensational as a rookie, showing the kind of two-way impact and basketball intelligence that suggests he could be a franchise cornerstone for the next 15 years. The Mavericks need to surround him with young, talented players who can grow alongside him rather than aging veterans on expiring contracts. Kuminga fits that description perfectly, giving them a versatile forward who can defend multiple positions, attack closeouts, and develop into a secondary scoring option as he continues to refine his offensive game. The long-term ambition for Dallas is clear: pair Flag with athletic, skilled players and build a sustainable contender rather than chasing short-term success. The framework of this trade would likely involve more than just Kuminga for Davis straight up. Dallas would almost certainly demand additional assets, whether that's draft picks, young players, or salary-matching pieces to make the financials work. The Warriors would need to evaluate their entire asset collection and determine what they're willing to part with to make this happen. It's a complex negotiation that requires both sides to feel like they're getting fair value. But the foundation of Kuminga going to Dallas in exchange for Davis is the centerpiece. That makes everything else possible. I want to be clear about something. This isn't a done deal. These are trade rumors and framework discussions that are happening behind the scenes, not finalized transactions, but the fact that multiple credible sources are reporting on this possibility, that former players are endorsing the concept, and that both franchises have motivations that align with making this trade suggests there's legitimate substance here. This isn't just clickbait speculation. This is a real scenario that both organizations are potentially exploring as we approach the trade deadline. As Warriors fans, we need to prepare ourselves emotionally for the possibility of saying goodbye to Kuminga. I know that's difficult, especially if you've been invested in his development, excited about his potential. But we also need to trust that our front office understands the urgency of our situation and is making decisions based on maximizing our championship odds while Curry is still elite. Would you rather hold on to potential and hope it eventually materializes? Or would you rather go all in on proven talent and give ourselves the best possible chance to win another title? That's the fundamental question this trade forces us to confront. The optimistic perspective, which I genuinely believe in, is that this trade could be the catalyst that propels us back to championship contention. Adding Anthony Davis to our roster transforms us from a good team into a legitimate threat to come out of the Western Conference. It gives us the kind of star power and two-way dominance that you need in today's NBA to compete with the league's elite teams. And most importantly, it honors Stephen Curry's legacy by doing everything possible to maximize his remaining years, rather than wasting them on development projects and future potential. For Kuminga, this could actually be a blessing in disguise. He'd be going to a situation where he's valued as a cornerstone piece, where the entire franchise is being built with him and Cooper Flag as the foundation, where he'd have the freedom to make mistakes and develop without the pressure of needing to contribute to championship runs immediately. Sometimes players need that kind of environment to truly unlock their potential, and Dallas could provide exactly what Kuminga needs to take that leap into stardom. If that happens, we should celebrate his success rather than lamenting what could have been, because it means we made a trade that benefited everyone involved. So here's where we stand. The Warriors are seriously considering trading Jonathan Kuminga to the Dallas Mavericks as part of a package to acquire Anthony Davis. This move would signal our complete commitment to winning now, to maximizing Stephen Curry's remaining prime years, and to building a roster capable of competing for championships rather than hoping for future development. It's a bold move. It's a risky move, but it's exactly the kind of aggressive decision-making that's defined our franchise's success over the past decade. What do you think about this potential trade? Are you willing to part with Kuminga's potential to acquire a proven superstar like Anthony Davis? Do you trust that this move gives us a better chance to win another championship with Steph? How do you feel about the Warriors' win-now mentality versus building for the future? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below, because this is exactly the kind of discussion that makes our community so valuable. Your perspective matters. Your opinions matter. And I read every single comment to understand how our fan base is feeling about these crucial decisions. If you want to stay ahead of every development, every rumor, and every breaking news story surrounding the Warriors, you need to subscribe to Warriors News Fan Report right now. Hit that subscribe button, smash the notification bell, and join thousands of passionate Warriors fans who trust us to deliver the most comprehensive, insightful, and reliable coverage of our team. We're here every single day bringing you the analysis, the insider information, and the perspective you need to stay completely informed. Let's navigate this crucial period together and support our Warriors as they chase another championship. Dub Nation, let's get it.